just outplayed in this game, and Ottawa just had momentum from the jump, Bry, and never seemed to lose it. They get the 5-2 win.
Yeah, it's one of those weird situations, really, when you're walking in as a visiting team. Not only is it the other team's home opener, but you're coming in first afternoon start of the year. A lot of different variables went into this, but I think in the long run, just a few too. I think John Tortorella would say that Flyers just had a few too many self-inflicted wounds in this one. A few too many penalties. Obviously, the power play is the difference when you sit there and look at the final numbers. But I will give them credit because you come into that third period, you're on your way home after the game, after being on the road for a few days, and minute 32 into the third, all of a sudden it's 5-2, and they could have easily just folded the tents and said, let's get through it. But they started putting on the pressure there, a little bit too little, a little too late. I know Torts calls it garbage time offense, but they do outshoot the Senators 12-6 there in the third, and they made Anton Forsberg, keep this game close. They had a few chances, and this could have been a different story if Forsberg wasn't playing as well as he did there in the third. So a start that they're going to want to fix, and a few other things in a game like this that they're going to want to fix, but they do come back and try to at least show some life there in the garbage.
Yeah, to me, the story of this game is two elements. Number one, obviously the power play of the Ottawa Senators. They were the 8th ranked power play in the NHL last year, and they returned with a lot of the same guys, and maybe even a little better this year with Chicker in there for the full lot. And then the other thing is that Brady Tkachuk goal with 6 seconds left. That's the one that you could have gone into the third period down a goal. Instead, you go down 2. Tkachuk then scores into the third period, like you said, to a minute 32 in to make it 5-2. And that was kind of lights out right there. Team kept pushing, but all in all, that's really where the game was kind of tipped in their favor considerably, in my opinion.
Yeah, we talk about, you don't want goals against in the first or last minute of a period. Well, obviously the late one there in the second, and a minute and a half into the third period is not much different. You want to come out there and again, I'm not going to sit here and him and haul about skating or anything like that. I don't know forced interference or the Sanheim interference. I don't know that he's got an obligation to get out of the guy's way or what the deal is there. I feel like he's entitled to his ice to a certain extent, but whatever reason, trailing official saw reason to call a penalty there on that little, what looked like a incident of contact.
Yeah, he's got his eyes checked.
But again, yeah. Well, but I think John Tortorella probably have to you got to make sure you don't put yourself in a position like this. But that was I was obviously led to Chuck's goal, and once that happened, you knew it was going to be a steep climb.
It's who ran into who. You know what I mean? Like, you're entitled to be in a piece of the ice and not move either. Right. And it's not your obligation to get out of a guy just because he's skating backwards way. It's his obligation to have awareness where he is. I thought that was a horrible call. And then look, I don't like complaining about the referee. It all balances out at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But the fact that Stahl had his stick launched too is, that's a penalty all day. I guess the refs are in early season mode here too, because that's a surefire penalty. I didn't like the Couturier call in the first period.
And we started to see more of that, right? Obviously, you come down on the stick, it's a slash every time that the guy drops it. It used to be not very often you call it if it went up and the guy dropped it. You're starting to see that more and more now. But again, when it's a puck battle, it's one thing. But Chuck just decided he wanted to get Stahl's stick out of the way, and
he did
far. And I think it does contribute to it because not just that play, but it contributes a little bit to the goal because Stahl comes rushing back in, tries to get set. He does get set, but he ends up too high and he's all by himself there. So it does have an effect. But again, you're right; they all do even out in the end.
Yeah, at least hope so. But all said and done, Flyers get out in the game 5-2. Cam York led Flyers defenseman with 4 shots on goal in the game. I thought he's looked very settled. He played over 20 minutes again in this game, 21-11. but leading the team in ice time once again. And looks like my one prediction for this year of average time on ice, I said it would be Cam York. He'd lead the team. But it's looking like it's going to be Travis Sanheim, at least here in the early going, for a couple of reasons. One is he's getting significant time on the PK, 356, just under 4 minutes, and he had 421 on the power play in the game as well. York had 544 on the power play, but Travis Sanheim leads the team in ice time with just under 24 minutes.
Yeah, and again, I see a lot here of. I feel like we see him picking up where he left off last year, using the last month of last season, and increased greatly last year. When the Flyers decided that Tony DeAngelo was not going to play, York was able to eat up a lot of those minutes, and he played regularly, 21, 22 minutes a game over the last month or so of the season. And he's just stepping right back into it here, and you're starting to see him be a lot more comfortable. Jumping in on the rush, shots on the 5 total attempts against the goal while doing just that, jumping in on the rush. So that's the kind of thing the Flyers want to see from him, and that's one of the things that you take away from a game like this. It's a rebuild. It's not all about wins and losses. It's mostly about wins and losses. But when you have a game like today that doesn't go your way for various reasons, you look for individual wins, and I think more.
I always look at, you've heard me say this before, I don't listen to what a coach's words are about a player. I look at their usage,
right,
and the way a coach uses a player to tell me what he thinks of their game at any given time. And you can do it both ways. If a player's not playing a lot of minutes, you go, okay, the coach isn't comfortable in a lot of situations with him. But if a player is being used in a lot of minutes, they're obviously comfortable. And I think John Tortorella is proving pretty darn comfortable with Sean Couturier at this point. Couturier in the game plays exactly 20 minutes. 9 minutes and 15 seconds of that time was on special teams. Over 6 on the power play, 3 on the PK, 10 minutes and 45 seconds on even strength. And he went 11 for 11 in draws. So he's out there in key moments. And maybe Couturier's game's not where it will end up getting to. John Tortorella is feeling comfortable with him, obviously, in all situations.
Yeah, I mean, I love the combination of the numbers, and it's telling me that the back is fine. That's really the thing that I'm looking for right there. I'm not horribly worried about how well or not well Sean Couturier is playing right now. Just that the back is fine, and when you see that 20-minute number coming up, and I'm doing a brief scan here, I think that's at least 3.5 minutes more than any other forward for the Flyers today.
Yeah, Cam Atkinson's had the second highest minutes.
Atkinson was at number 17, so 3 minutes more than any Flyer today. Plus the 22 faceoffs. I really like seeing that. Obviously, winning the faceoffs, that's going to come. That's something that you can't replicate that in practice. You can practice certain things and stuff like that, but you got to get that rust off. So, but that's the biggest thing for me. And on the same line, Cam Atkinson, 17 minutes. I mean, it really seems like both of these guys are doing just fine, which is really what the Flyers wanted coming into the season.
In his NHL debut, Emil Andre played 16 minutes and 27 seconds of ice time. He ended up as a -1. I thought he played well. He didn't make any, egregious mistakes. And you see, especially when he's on the ice with Nick Seeler, you saw that, that willingness to have him be the guy to lead the rush out of the zone. Seeler dumped it off to him behind the net a couple of times, or whether it was Sean Walker or whoever, to let him have that vision of the ice and make that first pass out of the zone. So be interested to see if he's in the lineup come Tuesday for the home opener.
Yeah, we'll see. It's really interesting to me to see what the Flyers do coming out of this trip, because we talked about it briefly. They took 2 extra young players on this first trip. We talked about Brinken Forrester up top and Andre and Sabella in the back. Now, some of those require waivers, so that complicates things a little bit, but the other 3 don't. And I almost felt like it seemed the Flyers decided, okay, we'll just take this guy on this. We'll take all 4 of them, because the AHL season hasn't started yet. It's not like they were missing a ton of opportunities. We had them start tonight. So, come on the trip. Let's get all 4 of them in a game, see where we go from there. For Andre especially, it's a good start for him. He only played 10 games for the Phantoms last year, coming over after his Swedish season was done, and he looked pretty good. He had 6 points in 10 regular season games, and so this is a logical next step for him. We've talked about maybe getting a guy like him an NHL game at NHL speed, so you know what it's like. Now you have a mental bank as to what it's like to play in this league, rather than just kind of imagining it. And even if he does go back to Lehigh Valley, I mean that'll be huge for him just to know that and continue his development. And we'll see where they go. But like you said, I thought he fit in. It didn't look like he was in over his head. He did have to absorb a couple of hits that he wasn't perhaps ready for, and I think that comes the speed of the game at this level kind of will put you in that situation. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought it was a pretty solid first game.
Boy, it seemed like he didn't like Vladimir Tarasenko a whole lot. He ran at him a couple of times in the game too.
Yeah.
You go, this guy's kind of my height. Let's go after him a little bit. But Vlad's a strong guy, Tarasenko. So all said and done, a 5-2 loss. 3 guys that I think need to maybe show a little more for the Flyers coming up on Tuesday. Frost and Tippett in particular, and Lawton I didn't think really flashed a whole lot today either. So we'll see if Frost and Tippett are 2 guys that they're really counting on, and guys that really created for them in the second half last year. I'd like to see them be a little bit more omnipresent going forward.
Yeah, and like you said, it's usage. You look at usage sometimes, and for whatever reason, I have to go back and look and try to determine the reason if I wanted to. But Tippett played 13 minutes, and it was a matter of being lost on special teams or something like that. I don't know. He was up to 16:33 tonight, so they got a little bit more of a look. But he certainly is trying to generate. The biggest issue for him tonight is he had 9 shot attempts, but only 1 of them.
Yeah,
he had 5 shots blocked and 3 that missed. So that the team in terms of shot attempts was trying to generate things, but today anyway, he did not. He just seemed a little bit off his game. So maybe that'll come. Maybe it's just a little bit of a tune-up thing for him. I wouldn't be too concerned just yet, but those guys, you're not going to want them to go too long before they start finding their rhythm.
Yeah, the Flyers still need to improve the faceoffs as well. Couturier, as I mentioned, goes 11-11, so 500. Palin goes 500, 4 wins, 4 losses as well. Lawton was 3 for 4, but then you look at Cates, one faceoff win to 6 faceoff losses, and Frost got eaten up there pretty good too, 3 wins to 9 losses, so and considerably behind Ottawa in that regard. So Flyers return home, and they'll open up their home schedule coming up on Tuesday, 6 o'clock game. Well, let's tell the people before we get out of here, Bri, about the details on Tuesday, because the game was 7. It's now 6. Phillies playing the NLCS at 8:07. And I believe is it Germany and Mexico playing the international soccer?
Germany and Mexico playing
at the link.
For some reason. I couldn't tell you why. But yeah. so yeah, it's going to be.
That'd been great if we had nothing else going on. But we have a fly. Yeah. So you have the Flyers game will be at 6. The doors will open 90 minutes prior. Block party begins at what? You said 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock block party. Yeah.
3 o'clock block party.
So you can get there and have something to do for 3 full hours before the game. I have looked at the weather, but I'm assuming we're going to get all the rain out of the way today.
Full day, and Phillies will play that night. So you can head over to Xfinity Live after the game as well and take that in if you choose. And it'll be a busy Tuesday as the Flyers will christen the new locker rooms, the new renovated downstairs event level, and they'll take on the Vancouver Canucks coming up on Tuesday as well. All right, let's thank a few people before we get out of here. Let's start with our in-studio engineer. How about Ryan Shuttlesworth? Great job back at the studio. On highlights was Haley Taylor Simon. For Tim Saunders, Todd Fedoric, Brian Smith, I'm Jason Martinez. You've been listening to Philadelphia Flyers Hockey, a 5-2 loss against the Ottawa Senators on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Rye.
Thanks, Rye.